Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm glad that you have joined this video and you've been following up on the other videos that I have posted on my channel. I'm grateful. Thank you very much. I apologize in advance for any noise you will hear in the background. Today I'm having a competition with some birds. So as I speak, there are some birds currently speaking with me, and if you hear that in the video, please let's just take it as something harmonious. Let's take it as music to our ears. Okay, so a few days ago was my grad anniversary, my 7th year grad anniversary. Google was so kind as to remind me that, hey girl, so you graduated 7 years ago on the 5th of June 2016, and I think I'm going to show you this video to remind you of the fact that it's been 7 years that I've been unemployed. But luckily for me, I already knew this before they even reminded me. But it got me a little down, and it got me in a particular state of mind that by God's grace I was able to get myself out of. But it also made me to sit down and think about my life and ask myself if I have at least grown in other areas of my life or learned anything. And so in this video, I'm going to be sharing some things that I've learned and some areas that I've grown. The first thing I've learned is that God is my supplier. I've heard this statement made in churches, I've heard it made by other people of faith, and they have always said that God supplies all your needs according to his riches in glory. They would always say things like this, and I believed it because I believe in God and I'm a believer. But I never really personally experienced this, because while in school and even after I graduated, a few years after I graduated, I was being carried by my father. He was able to supply most of my needs. If I needed anything, it's not like he would give me the entire world, but when it came to specific needs that were necessary, he was able to supply. So I couldn't relate to that statement until a few years afterwards, where everything just went dry and I had been unemployed for so long, and my parents had other children to train and other things to do with their money, and at this point they're also expecting that I should be able to, sustain myself. And so money wasn't coming in as much anymore, and I still noticed that I haven't begged, I haven't stolen, and I haven't necessarily been hungry for a prolonged period of time. I mean, I can be hungry for a day and I could turn it into a fast, which is beneficial for me spiritually, but I haven't been hungry or broke to the point that I can't afford transportation to go out, even though I had to limit my spending. I don't know if you get what I mean, but I was able to have an experiential knowledge of God as Jireh. This Jehovah Jireh that I kept hearing became a reality in my life. Like, no one can talk me out of the fact that God provides and God supplies, because I experienced it for myself. It was no longer something someone told me, it was now my experience, and he has been able to see me through up until this point. And that is one thing I've learned that no one can take away from me, not even unemployment. The second thing I've learned is that suffering can stretch you, and it is necessary. Nobody likes suffering. We don't want to suffer. I don't want to suffer. I'm a soft girl and I like soft life, but it just happens that I had to suffer some certain things in this season, and you don't know what you can do or what is inside of you until you get to a point where you're suffering that you need to get things done, you need to do something about it. So I tried so many things that I would not even have tried had I been employed immediately I got out of school or a few years afterwards. I have learned to relate with another person. Suffering and lack has taught me to be humble, to know that there's nothing so special about me outside of the fact that God has just been gracious and favored me. So I now relate with other people because I've suffered. I've also grown in the fruit of the Spirit. That fruit called patience, long suffering, because I've had to wait. I had no choice. I've had no choice but to wait. And so it has built me in character. It has taught me humility. It has taught me how to understand or relate with another person when they are suffering. Yeah, suffering has stretched and grown me, and that is something that I do not take for granted. I don't want to continuously remain in suffering. Like I said, everything ends, seasons change, and I won't be here forever, and I don't even want to be here for longer. But for as long as I have been here, is something I am grateful for, that this has birthed character. It has made me grow, and it has taught me to understand people and be empathetic of others, because I've had to go through things myself. The third thing I've learned is that you need naysayers in your life. You need critics, you need mockers in your life. And I've had my fair share of mockers and critics. I've had people insult me and disrespect me because I've been unemployed. I've had people literally blame me for my state of unemployment, tell me that it is because I haven't done X, Y, and Z that I'm unemployed. I've had people just enjoy the fact that I do not have as much as I want to, that I'm struggling in an area, like people that can be envious or just agents of devils, permit me to use that, have just done certain things to mock me because of this season, to put me low, that I've cried because of these people. But one thing I know is that you need these people in your life. You need mockers, you need critics, you need naysayers. Naysayers, mockers, critics, they are tools by God. They are used to bet greatness in you, and that's my point. Hannah needed Peninnah to be able to do what she needed to do. She had to be pushed to do what she needed to do. The energy that she used to pray the prayer that Eli came to meet her and told her that whatever it is that she's praying for will be done, and she was blessed with Samuel and other children after that, was gotten because Peninnah mocked her. Peninnah criticized her to the point that she knew that she has had enough. And that greatness that was Samuel, that was within her, that God probably kept on the sideline waiting for her to push it to reality, to connect with his own will, to bring it to pass, happened because someone mocked her. So I've started to learn that I don't always have to run away from mockery. God works all things out for our good. So if mockers and critics come into your life, I'm not saying that God sent them, but God can still look at that and be like, maybe this person could help her birth this greatness that is already inside of her even much faster. And so he might allow that for a season. In the same vein, I also learned that not everybody is a mocker or a critic. Some people just don't know how to talk. They are well-meaning people, they are saying the truth, but they don't know how to arrange their words in the right way or phrase it in the right way that wouldn't hurt you or put you down. And so I've also learned to get out of my feelings, to not be overly sensitive and emotional all the time, and just sift out the words that these critics and mockers are saying and see if there's any truth in it, and implement whatever necessary changes I have to make if they are actually being truthful about what they are saying. Not everyone is a naysayer as well. People advise you based on their own experiences, based on what has worked for them and what has not worked for them, based on the people around them that they have observed and seen that certain things worked for or did not work for. So when a person is telling you, oh, don't start YouTube because it doesn't work, get a traditional 9 to 5, it doesn't mean that they are naysayers, right? It just means that they don't know anybody who has done YouTube before. They don't know what the hell YouTube is. They don't know the necessity of YouTube. And so you who has the vision, be sure that you have the vision to start. I'm using YouTube as an example because this is something that I can relate with. But you that has the vision, you know why you are on YouTube. I am on YouTube sharing this not just because I want to get monetized and make money out of it, which is something I want, let's be honest, but also because there was a time in my life where I felt lonely. I felt like no one understood, and I would just go on YouTube and type out a certain thing that relates to how I was feeling, and I would see a person that has probably 10 views, 2 likes and 0 subscribers, that posted a particular topic 5 years ago that is not, they are not even active anymore, but I was blessed. They spoke about what I needed at that time. They let me know that they could relate, and this is what they did to get out of a certain situation, or just for kindred spirit or something, and it made me energized and encouraged. And for that reason, I wanted to also come on here and share my struggles and share lessons I've learned, ideas I've gotten, just so that even if I don't have subscribers, even if it's 5 years from now, someone comes to my channel and feels like they have been unemployed for such a long time and they don't know what to do, they can relate to this video. And so this was a vision I had. No one saw it with me, but I let them talk me out of it. But that does not mean that they are naysayers, even though we use that word. They are actually people who deliberately are naysayers. They are people who are just advising you because they don't know any better. So your job is to be sure that you know that this is what you want to do. And even though no one has walked the path, be brave enough to at least tread that path and be the trailblazer. I've learned that some of the choices I made brought me here, and I am to blame for some of the reasons why I'm unemployed. Yes, I know I said that people came and they blamed me and they said the wrong things, but I also have to be honest with myself to know that there were certain times that I was the cause of my own problem. Like there was an occasion when I had just been fresh out of school. I think it was a year after I had just graduated. I landed an interview. I actually applied to a job and they invited me for an interview. And because of performance anxiety, I talked myself out of going for that interview because I felt like I would not do good on the job if I was hired for the job. So I was the imposter in my own employment goals, right? And maybe if I got that job, I would not have been able to do well, but I would have learned on the job, right? But I let imposter syndrome and performance anxiety talk me out of even going for an interview to make an attempt in the first place. There was also another time, still like a year after I had graduated, I would see openings that said they wanted someone with 3 to 5 years experience that was 20 years old, and I was like, I shouldn't apply to this because I'm fresh out of school. I don't have no experiences. So I was focusing on only graduate trainee programs and opportunities that had 0 years of experience. And there were barely much of those ones. Even the ones that had 0 years experience, there were lots of people applying for those jobs. So the chances of getting it were slim. Only for me to find out 4 years later that this is just the preference of the recruiter. They say they want 3 to 5 years. But if you can be able to convince them that you can be hired, you'll be hired. And it's just something, a lingo that they use on their description. And I just wasted 4 years of my life waiting for me to find a job with 0 experiences, and then also extended how long it was going to take for me to have the experience. So now I'm fresh out of school with 4 years work gap because I didn't apply to a job that said 3 to 5 years. I also sabotaged myself by not taking on interest that I had because I wanted to do a 9 to 5 and I was waiting for approval from men to tell me that it was okay for me to pursue some other interests. Had I pursued some other interests, I probably would have been making money in those interests, learned a lot from those interests. There would have been experiences that I could have put on my CV, or it might have directed me to a whole new career path that was even much better for me, but I wouldn't know. So these 3 things I just mentioned are all my fault. I caused that. That's where I contributed to my own issues, and it is okay for me to own up and say it was my fault. I've also learned that, as stone deaf as this would sound coming from other people, I will be fine. And I know this because I have already been fine all these years. All these years of prolonged unemployment, I have already been fine. I've been fine so far. God has been taking care of me. He has been supplying for me, and He's not about to stop now. He says in His words that He will never leave me nor forsake me, and He will never fail me, and He will be with me even to the end of the ages. He's not a man that He should lie, so He's not going to suddenly go back on His word when it comes to me. So if He says that He's with me, then I will be fine because He has got me. I get backing. I will be fine, and I have been fine so far. I also know that it is too early to pronounce me a failure, and that it is not yet over until I win. Just like Thomas Edison, when he was trying to refine the light bulb, he attempted it 10,000 times, and 9,999 times he failed before he got it right. But when he was asked to make his statement, he didn't say I'm a failure. He said I didn't fail. I only learned 9,999 ways that does not work. Like, imagine that. Someone tried 10,000 times, 9,999 times they failed, and they kept on going. And he says it's not a failure. Then I'm definitely not a failure. I would eventually find the key that finally opens the door. Just like Thomas Edison, my numerous attempts will eventually lead me to the attempt that would actually work. And so this is what I want to believe. And this video is getting a little too long, so there will probably be part 2 of this video, and I will see you in part 2. But until next time, I love you guys.